Happy New Year. Welcome to Mitv Primetime News. I am Jumoke Michaels. Now to the stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima has said that investing in education is never a gamble, describing it as a deliberate commitment to securing Nigeria's future, as Kashim Ibrahim University, Maiduguri, graduated 2,294 students and installed the Oni of Ife as its chancellor. Shettima stated this on Saturday at the combined convocation ceremonies of the university, covering the 2022 and 2023, 2023 and 2024, and 2024 and 2025 academic sessions. Addressing the graduates, the Vice President said education remained the most powerful tool for development, economic empowerment, and societal liberation. He urged the graduating students to uphold integrity and excellence, reminding them that their conduct would shape the reputation of the institution. Reflecting on the impact of insurgency on the state, Shettima said Borno State had paid a heavy price for disruptions to education, but chose resilience over despair. Describing the graduates as pioneers of the institution, the Vice President told them history would judge the university by what they become. Shettima commended the university's academic and administrative leadership, including its pioneer Vice Chancellor and current management, for laying what he described as a solid foundation for learning in the Northeast. The federal government has described the building materials in Nigeria and outlined several strategies focused on boosting local production and offering fiscal incentives to tackle the issue. Minister of Housing and Urban Development Ahmed Dangiwa stated this at a high-level stakeholders engagement in Lagos with the theme "Actualizing the Renewed Hope Agenda for Housing and Urban Development," examining strategies, identifying opportunities to boost scale and impact. He said besides cost of land and funds, building materials whose prices have hit the roof in recent times on account of inflation constitute a significant percentage of construction costs, thereby jerking up house prices and putting them beyond the reach of many. To underscore the seriousness attached to this plan, he said there will be a series of fiscal incentives to support it, including tax reductions for local manufacturers, custom duty waivers for importing machinery and raw materials, grants and subsidies to scale up production, access to low-interest financing, and public-private partnerships to drive innovations. Vice Chairman of the Senate Committee on Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Victor Ume, pledged the National Assembly's support in providing the necessary policy framework to ensure the initiative succeeds. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Shuaib Belgore, emphasized the importance of the engagement as a platform to attract investment and foster innovation in the local building materials industry. To oversee the implementation of the project, the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development will establish a central oversight committee chaired by the minister with representation from state governments, universities, vocational institutions, and industry unions.
The cost of building materials is a major determinant of housing affordability. If you can reduce the cost of these materials through local protection and strategic fiscal incentives, we can significantly lower the overall cost of housing construction. This in turn will make housing more accessible to the average Nigerian. So this forum is about that discussion that we are about to do. The issue of boosting local manufacturing building materials has been a long-standing one. Target priced houses that will be within the reach of contributors to the National Housing Fund. These are the low and medium income earners. Similarly, Bumpam was designed to provide backward and forward linkages in housing production, encompassing building materials and the associated small and medium scale industries. This helps to also provide access to modern technology training programs, and research and development facilities, enabling manufacturers to produce high-quality materials that meet international standards.
The high cost and inconsistent supply of building material remains critical obstacles. Import dependence on materials like cement, iron rods, tiles, glass, and roofing sheets inflates construction costs. Moreover, the production capabilities of our local manufacturers remain underdeveloped, adding to the cost burden. To meet the needs of our growing population and rapidly urbanizing communities, we must focus on increasing local production. We need to reduce reliance on imports, making building materials more affordable and create jobs for our people.
To achieve this, the Senate Committee on Lands, Housing and Urban Development is committed to supporting a range of legislative and policy incentives, including but not limited to these ones: tax reliefs and duty exemptions, introducing tax incentives for local manufacturers of building materials, including corporate tax reductions to lower production costs. 2, import duty waivers, granting waivers on import duties for essential raw materials, machinery, and technology required for local production to reduce overhead costs. Of course, here we're talking about raw materials that cannot be found in Nigeria.
The rising costs of these materials have posed a significant challenge to developers, policymakers, and aspiring homeowners alike. It is therefore imperative that we explore viable incentives and strategic interventions that will promote local production, enhance affordability, and reduce dependence on imports. As you may be aware, the Ministry, as part of the Presidential Priorities and Ministerial Deliverables for 2023 to 2027, is establishing building material manufacturing hubs in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country.
When we say haulage trucks, we are asking that there are CKD components and SKD components. We are asking that their import duties be reduced so as to help with the assembling of these components to ease logistics for the manufacturing sector. Recent increases in royalties and mining fees, license fees by as much as 1,900% have drastically raised production costs. We urge a reconsideration of these rates to prevent market distortions and cost escalations.
The Renewed Hope Housing Initiative of the federal government has received a major boost as key industry players in the real estate sector have continued to align with the initiative aimed at boosting the drive towards affordable housing for the ever-growing population of Nigeria. This is because the public-private partnership under the Renewed Hope Housing Initiative has taken a further step with the signing of a memorandum of understanding for the construction of 100,000 housing units across the country by Q Shelter and M.I. Okoro and Associates. The 2 consortium of private developers are responsible for the marketing and sale of the federal government's Renewed Hope housing estates and managed through a strategic partnership with the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. One of the consultants in the housing initiative and the founding partner of Okoro and Associates, Innocent Okoro, said the initiative will go a long way in providing affordable homes for low and middle income earners, civil servants, and private sector workers. The Chief Operating Officer of Q Shelter, Adigbenga Alamu, said the Renewed Hope Housing Initiative features 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units with set prices and flexible payment plans like mortgage and rent to own via a dedicated portal. With Q Shelter, aiming to build 20,000 houses in Lagos and Abuja and 60 nationwide with essential infrastructure. He explained that projects are underway across different states, with bids being opened in phases, with pilot projects like the one in Ibejuleki, Lagos State, nearing completion.
The present renewed home housing policy of the federal government is a policy in the right direction because it addresses the housing needs of the middle class. And the following arrangement via Federal Mortgage Bank, NHF mortgage and rent-to-own of 6 to 7% respectively, that guarantees 50 million per subscriber and a tenure of up to 30 years mortgage, which is a decision in the right direction and highly commendable. The most recent addition to the Nigerian housing finance landscape is the Ministry of Housing Incorporated Real Estate Investment Fund, MREF, under which 250 billion has been made available for disbursement to Nigerians seeking home ownership.
About building, it is about dignifying opportunity and sustainable community and providing sustainable communities. This partnership strengthens our resolve to deploy innovative marketing structures, professional valuation standards, and transparent engagement frameworks that will ensure these housing estates reach deserving Nigerians efficiently and reasonably.
Our great company has completed civil and construction to develop 100,000 housing units with 20,000 in Abuja, 20,000 in Lagos, and 60,000 all over the Federation. The first project took off in Abuja, and the groundbreaking was done by Mr. President on February 8, 2024, 2 days after he came back from his trip from France, and we are expected to deliver about 2,800 houses.
From the institutional point, we have no hesitation to endorse and to work with all of it. And I'm sure this is a massive project. I'm sure he too knows how we do it in the institution. Thank you that you did not go out to go and involve crowds. This is a project that requires professional input, ideas, because you are professional. So, done the right thing by involving a professional.
In the meantime, President of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, Mr. Victor Alunge, said Nigeria's new tax reforms will positively impact the real estate sector from January 1, 2026. Speaking in Lagos during a press briefing marking the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between Q Shelter Limited and M.I. Okoro and Associates, Alunge said although large construction firms would still pay VAT on some materials, provisions exist to offset costs through other incentives, including local production. He explained that savings from the reforms will strengthen mortgage financing and improve access to housing for Nigerians. Alunge stated that value-added tax had been removed for the informal segment of the construction industry under the new law, which he observed exempt several small-scale businesses within the construction value chain, describing it as a model adopted by advanced economies for growth.
And that tax law is one of the most beneficial law for Nigerian workers in the last, I don't know, since independence. The truth of the matter is that about 90% of workers will not be paying tax because the threshold for tax payment is actually high now. And even the small scale businesses, a lot of them will be tax exempt. So what I'm saying is that for real estate, I think this is something we need to start thinking about. It is a positive policy for real estate. The relief in terms of less people pay tax will lead to higher disposable income, which we can now actually move towards paying for your real estate acquisition, whether in terms of mortgage. And again, when you buy into mortgage, it's another relief again. So it's something that we need to see as positive for our industry. So that's what I'm saying. Apart from what the CEO has said, even now, it's been clear that residential properties don't pay VAT.
The Lagos State government reiterated its commitment to promote the use of toilets and good hygiene practices in every community in the state. The special advisor to the governor on the environment, Olakunle Rotimi Akodu, restated the government's commitment at a training workshop for public toilet operators and janitors in Lagos State. He said the training was aimed to build public toilet operators' capacity and inculcate in them best practices in toilet management, with the focus to eradicate open defecation, reduce vulnerability to disease outbreaks, promote environmental health and social security in the state. Rotimi Akodu explained that the theme, Decent Toilets and Good Hygiene, an approach to end open defecation in Lagos State, interconnect the crucial role operators and janitors in ensuring effective management, sanitary condition and patronage in maintaining public health, dignity and community well-being. The Permanent Secretary, Office of Environmental Services, Dr. Mobolaji Gaji, made it clear that the program was aimed at ending open defecation in Lagos. He said the issue of open defecation was not just a matter of sanitation, but a critical public health concern that affects the well-being of the communities.
And some of these people are so heady that they don't listen except to the force. So as you sensitize, as you educate, you also couple that with good enforcement. So that creates some fear and the need for them to find out, okay, what can we do if you don't want us to do this? The last cholera outbreak, you can see it's focused in Lagos, and the spikes are all in Lagos. The rise in incidents, and these are the things we want to reverse. And it doesn't just happen overnight. It's all about hygiene. Our hygiene system is basically low, and we want to encourage people we want to create a drive. There are of such embarrassing, low water of hygiene.
To ensure that those ones that we have at heart are clean, they are safe, and they are secure for people to use, qualified for people to use. That is the essence of this cleaning as well. We don't want people to.
The Lagos State government has called for collaboration among stakeholders on finding local and innovative solutions to plastic waste crisis in the country. The General Manager, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, LASEPA, Dr. Tunde Ajayi, made the call at an event in Lagos organized by the Nigerian Environmental Society. Dr. Ajayi said such collaboration should be geared towards rethink, refuse, reuse, reduce, and recycle of plastics for a sustainable environment. Chairman of Nigerian Environmental Society, Lagos Mainland, Adeosun Taufik, highlighted the critical need for concerted efforts to address the widespread and detrimental impact of plastic pollution on ecosystems, public health, and the economy. Taufik, who identified plastics pollution as a global crisis, emphasized that Nigeria was not immune to its devastating effects. Stakeholders at the event identified solutions to reducing plastic pollution locally to include promoting sustainable alternatives and encouraging the adoption of reusable and biodegradable materials to replace single-use plastics.
Who are putting their time into understanding the environment. We all know the importance and the dangers with plastic. But I will sound one note of advice is the fact that we need to continue to do the work we're doing. The onus of engagement and continuous advocacy is on us. As a regulatory agency, for instance, we will continue to do advocacy and then do enforcement when necessary. We will incentivize the process of retrieving plastic in our environment and then make sure that Lagos and Nigeria gets better for it. Let's keep pushing.
We have had experience whereby passengers will say, after all, I paid for my ticket, I paid for my flight, so I can do whatever I want to do. So if a passenger chooses not to comply with your regulation that these categories of items are not allowed beyond social place, when a passenger brings such item to the airport, such item becomes a waste. So that will increase the quantity of plastic waste that airports will generate. So sensitization of stakeholders is very important when they are good place.
So there's poor awareness for people to really understand what biodegradable is all about and the importance and the benefits of the biodegradable materials. Also, the skill and expertise for biodegradable production is still low. So, for us to solve the challenges of this, solve the problem of these challenges, one, there should be collaboration between industries or companies, because no one industry has it all.
It's about everybody putting hands on deck to make something happen. So if that is the case, we are talking basically about the need for all of us to join hands together. First, we're talking of both the producers, the users, and of course everybody who has a possible effect. For instance, the residents, like you said, are very key collaborators. But you see, I always believe in strategic collaboration. What do I mean by that? Whatever we need to do, we have to first think and document it. Try to put it together as a document and then seek collaborators, people who will be willing to work with us on making that happen.
And we really need to act very fast and start implementing some of those solutions that people have been preventing, because plastic pollution has become a great menace, not only in our society. You can see that they contribute a greater percentage of materials that causes drain blockage in Lagos. For example, let's use Lagos, we're in Lagos. And if we don't get rid of them on time, we'll continue to be having flooding taking place everywhere.
How do we get involved in the recycling of plastics? If we find a space in the entire value chain, identify the entire value chain and how we plug into it, I think that could give us the responsibility of really being part of the management. Chapter next, Lagos, just to say that we will put enough MITVs here, and I do hope that beyond MITV will be in position to share these tips with others for more publicity of what had happened here today.
To enforce the law on whosoever that not contrary to the legislation, the policy on ground. The Lagos State government environmental protection law says you must manage your waste. You don't dispose waste indiscriminately. And that's what we are talking about when we're talking about this plastic that you're talking about. If you don't manage it properly, once you hold it, and it remains where you hold it, or you intentionally create a collection center to put it That means, as individuals, we need to be intentional about this plastic that we're talking about.
Nigeria needs to adopt sustainability in all environmental matters if the nation is to drive climate-friendly clean energy in line with the current trend worldwide. Professor Jamiu Adetayo of the Department of Chemical Engineering, University of Ilorin, made this assertion in Lagos at an event with the theme, Driving Climate Change-Friendly Clean Energy for Sustainable Economic Growth. Professor Adetayo explained that climate change has become so real that the hot climate in some countries melt ice, leading to flooding and affecting water supply, in addition to adverse effects on farming. The national chairman of the institution, Engineer Nureni Adegboyega Ogunyemi, said as the world transitions towards sustainability and efforts and measures to net zero emissions targets by 2050, fossil fuel is giving way to renewable and climate consciousness-shaped economic policies. He said with these efforts and measures being taken across the world to achieve climate-friendly energy, Nigeria cannot afford to be left out. The immediate past chairman of NIEE, Yusuf Mojolagbe, stated that the institution was committed to promoting and achieving environmental sustainability and circular economy. The new chairman of the NIEE, Aziz Agoro, was of the opinion that the theme of the inauguration was in line with worldwide events on climate issues, while advocating for collective responsibility in combating climate change and achieving environmental sustainability. 2 people were killed and at least 6 others were injured in separate road traffic crashes recorded across Lagos on New Year's Day. In one of the accidents, a fatal crash occurred at Iyano Itire, inward Oshodi, following a collision between a Volkswagen commercial bus and a Toyota Sienna car, killing 2 occupants in the crash. In a statement Thursday by the Director of Public Affairs and Enlightenment of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, Adebayo Taufik, said LASMA officials arrived promptly at the scene, evacuated the area and contacted the State Environmental Health Monitoring Units to remove the bodies of the deceased, while traffic was controlled to prevent further disruption. In a separate incident along the Ibeju Bridge, inward Eleko axis of the Lekki-Ajah Expressway, a DAF tanker collided with an Opel Zafira car. 2 victims sustained critical injuries and were rescued by LASMA's emergency response team before being taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. Another crash was recorded at Owode Elede, inward Owode Oniri on the Ikorodu Road corridor, involving a Volkswagen commercial bus and a Toyota Corolla. 4 persons were injured in the accident and were evacuated to a hospital by LASMA operatives, who also restored traffic flow in the area. Reacting to the incidents, LASMA's General Manager Olalekan Bakare-Oki described the crashes as avoidable, attributing them largely to reckless driving and excessive speeding. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, has acknowledged the commendations received in respect of the authority's recent activities and overall performance. In a statement, the General Manager of LASMA, Olalekan Bakare-Oki, said the feedback has not only been overwhelmingly constructive and encouraging, but also serves as a strategic compass on areas that need improvement. He stated that LASMA recognized past lapses where they existed, while assuring its commitment to continuous professional excellence and service delivery that meets global best practices. He extended LASMA's deepest appreciation to the State Governor of Lagos, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Transportation, and the entire top management of the Ministry of Transportation for their visionary leadership, sound policy direction, and steadfast support. He assured all stakeholders that collective support and constructive engagement further reinforces its determination to deliver even more efficient, responsive, and people-centered traffic management services in Lagos State. The governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC in Ekiti State, Ambassador Oluwadare Bejide, has firmly debunked rumors suggesting he's sponsored by the sitting governor or planning to step down from the race. Speaking at the ADC media party to mark the new year, Bejide described the claims as false, misleading, and politically motivated. He emphasized that his candidacy is people-driven and founded on the genuine desire to offer purposeful leadership to Ekiti residents. The ADC candidate reaffirmed his commitment to the governorship race, saying he remains focused on addressing unemployment, insecurity, and governance failures in the state. Bejide called on Ekiti people to reject propaganda and support a new direction anchored on integrity, unity, and people-centered development.
They believe once they corner the political highlights, that is the end of the story. They want to make the few happy and ignore the majority. And that is why we have hunger in the land. That's why the people are not happy. That scenario will change by the grace of God. I was Secretary NRC. All Ondo State. I was going from here to Akure every day. I was the pioneer secretary of UNCP in Ekiti State. I was the first secretary of PDP in Ekiti State. I was the first gubernatorial deputy candidate of PDP in Ekiti State. That was when Jonathan was also deputy gubernatorial candidate. Yeah. So, to now imagine that I will be a surrogate to Biodun, I started the political aspiration of Niyi Adebayo here in this house. Adebayo came to meet me in this house to tell me he wanted to be governor, that he wanted me to champion it. Banji was a school teacher then. He would attend our meeting not as a member, as an observer. So it's an insult to say I will now be a surrogate of Biodun. It's an insult. It is not true. I'm contesting to win. And you begin to see, how can I be a surrogate to so to say, a boy I trained? I trained him, so I cannot be a surrogate to him. It's not possible. It's impossible. We are here to win. We want to salvage this state. They have messed up the system. And you can see yourself, at the end of the day, you see that he will struggle, but we will defeat him.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world in celebrating the festive season, governments at all levels have been urged to make the fight against hunger and poverty a top priority, emphasizing the need to provide basic necessities for citizens, especially the less privileged. Speaking with journalists during an outreach in Lagos, the founder of Kinzanda Foundation, Jennifer Benson Akiremi, noted that access to food, clean water, healthcare, and shelter remains a daily struggle for millions of Nigerians, explaining that hunger continues to disproportionately affect vulnerable groups such as children, women, the elderly, and low-income families, thereby hindering social and economic development. She called on local, state, and federal authorities to strengthen food security initiatives, expand social welfare programs, and implement policies that directly improve the living conditions of disadvantaged communities. Benson Akiremi urged governments to collaborate with non-governmental organizations, community-based groups, and the private sector to ensure effective distribution of resources and delivery of support services. In his remarks, a member of the foundation, Victor Oladende, emphasized that sustainable solutions and people-centered policies are critical to addressing the root causes of hunger adding that provision of basic necessities should be regarded as a fundamental responsibility of governance rather than an act of charity. Oladende added that prioritizing the needs of the less privileged would result in healthier populations, increased productivity, and more stable societies.
You can have other individuals getting a foundation, other foundations. You can have it like, imagine different foundations feeding over 200 in different sectors of the nation. So imagine how people would be fed through the year, and if we have them consistently throughout the year, not only 31st of December, if we have them like monthly, bi-monthly and all those, we will have a better Nigeria. I know the government are doing their best in tackling hunger. Some people complain that they are not, but in all honesty, I know that the government are doing their best and they can't do all at the same time. That is the reason we as foundation, we as NGOs, we at Kinzanda's Foundation are also taking time out to help the government through people's sponsorship anyway. So we have people sponsor us. We can even have the government too. If they want, they can have them to collaborate with us. We'll reach out to more people. We'll go to nook and crannies of the place. We'll go to grassroots and we'll get these people that need these items so that they can have a better life.
It plays a very great role because we could see in the face of the people, the beneficiary, they are happy. In fact, one of the things we have even discovered is that we have to do more, because the numbers of people we have arranged for, even though we had extra, we had more than the numbers of people, because many people want to take it, because hunger is something that we have to keep on reaching every time and time, because these people need it.
Eléyìí náà ó máa jẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ fún àwọn tí wọ́n ní kíní ìlọ́wọ́ rẹpẹtẹ láti jẹ́ kí àwọn tí wọ́n ò ní kán ní, because gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n gba kíní ìlọlé ní ìsìn wọn ò lè ṣe bọ́n ti ẹ̀ la ẹnu sọ̀rọ̀ ẹlẹ́dàá wọn máa ṣàdúrà pa Church African Church àwọn Kinzanda Foundation àwọn ni wọ́n fún wa ní ẹ̀bùn yìí, wọ́n bá ṣe ń jẹ inú wọn máa dùn, so ó máa jẹ́ kí ìlú Èkó kó tẹ̀síwájú, àti àwọn kọ̀ọ̀kan náà tó bá ti ń rírú eléyìí náà kó bá ti ń lè help àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù, so a tún máa jẹ́ kí inú gbogbo wa máa dùn.
To security matters, the troops of the Joint Task Force Operation Hardin K said they have uncovered a significant cache of high-caliber ammunition in the Bulunkutu Railway General Area. The spokesman of the Theatre Command, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, in a statement on Saturday, said the development reinforces the effectiveness of ongoing intelligence-driven security operations across the theatre. He said upon arrival, a thorough search led to the discovery of 1,270 rounds of 12.7 mm ammunition warheads, some live 12.7 mm rounds, as well as power banks concealed inside the drainage. Lieutenant Colonel Uba revealed preliminary actions have been taken to secure the site, while efforts are ongoing to drain the water in the channel to determine whether additional dangerous items are present. Troops, in conjunction with the police and other security agencies, continued to dominate the general area to ensure the safety of residents, protect critical infrastructure, and prevent any attempt by criminal or terrorist elements to recover the items. He similarly explained that no casualties or unusual incidents were recorded during the operation, adding that the general security situation remains calm and vigilance is being maintained in view of the unpredictable nature of the threat environment. In the meantime, the Nigerian military has identified one Sharif Umar as the suspected principal coordinator of a suicide bombing network linked to a recent deadly attacks, including the December 24 bombing of the Gambaru Market Mosque in Maiduguri and attempted strikes across the northeast. These followed intelligence-led operations by troops of the Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin K. The breakthrough came after a series of cordon and search operations conducted in the Kalmari area of Maiduguri on December 31, 2025, during which 14 suspects believed to be connected to suicide bombing activities were arrested. The development was disclosed in a statement on Saturday in Maiduguri by the Media Information Officer of the Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Harding K, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, who said investigations had uncovered the structure and operational linkages of the terror cell. On the identification of Umar, the statement said the development followed intelligence-led cordon and search operations conducted at Kalmari area of Maiduguri on 31st December 2025, during which 14 suspects linked to suicide bombing activities were arrested, while subsequent detailed identification and investigative processes established the structure, roles, and operational linkages of the terror cell. The military said a detained suspected suicide bomber, Ibrahim Mohammed, provided crucial information during interrogation, directly implicating Sharif Umar, also known as Yusuf, as the ringleader of the network. Lieutenant Colonel Uba explained that Umar was responsible for recruiting, preparing, and deploying suicide bombers, as well as coordinating logistics and the delivery of improvised explosive device components. We'll take a break now to bring you stories from the foreign scene.
Is bringing Joy Unlimited to your home with a double upgrade promo.
Yes, you heard it!
Okay, here's the deal. Simply recharge 1 month on Nova, Basic and Classic and enjoy double upgrade for 1 month, while Super or Global subscribers enjoy 5 extra days for free. Or recharge for 2 months on Nova, Basic, Classic and enjoy double upgrade for 2 months plus 10 extra days, while Super or Global subscribers enjoy 20 extra days for free.
Good deal, right? Sure it is! We have got something for everyone this festive season, from blockbuster movies, live sports, best kiddies content, premium Bollywood and novella series, and of course exclusive shows like the Hello Mr. Right.
To enjoy this offer, recharge between November 15th to January 15th at any StarTimes office or dealer outlets. The more the recharge, the more the magic. Terms and conditions apply. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
You must have the fear of God, because the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. A man slapping the wife and asking the wife, get out, go to hell. If he has the fear of God, he should know slapping the wife is like slapping himself.
Somebody sees a thing, comes into a place, looks around and says, no. I mean, we should reorganize things. Things are not moving well.
I say, shut up.
But you say, shut up. There's no opportunity for, I mean, how will they learn? Tomorrow, when they get into power, when those same youth get into power, they will not want to listen to anybody with a dissenting voice.
Exactly.
And that will be a conspiracy against progress.
Run away from bad companies. Bad companies ruins good morals. There are distractions that will not allow you to achieve the purpose that you intend to achieve.
Okay. No matter how much amount of money you have in the bank, I can tell you something, it can destroy the home.
Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump says his country has captured Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife during large-scale strikes launched against the South American country on Saturday. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said President Maduro has been indicted in New York on drugs and weapons charges, adding he will face the full wrath of American justice on American soil in American courts. President Trump stated that Maduro and his wife were captured from a fortress-like house and are being taken to New York on a ship, pointing out that there are few injuries but no deaths on American side. This came as Venezuela declared a national emergency denouncing extremely serious military aggression. In the meantime, the U.S. president has made it clear that the U.S. will be very strongly involved in Venezuela's oil industry. Meanwhile, Venezuela's defense minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez said the country will prevail and not negotiate, neither will it give up. Meanwhile, world leaders of countries have been reacting to the U.S. attack and capture of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro. In a series of statements posted on the social media platform X, Colombian President Gustavo Petro wrote that the U.S. has alerted the whole world that it had attacked Venezuela. Petro reiterated the conviction of the Republic of Colombia that peace, respect for international law, and the protection of life and human dignity must prevail over any form of armed confrontation. In a statement posted on X, Chilean President Gabriel Boric Font expressed his government's concern and condemnation of the U.S. military actions in Venezuela, while President Claudia Sheinbaum said Mexico condemned the military intervention in Venezuela. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said Moscow was deeply concerned and condemned an act of armed aggression against Venezuela committed by the U.S. In a statement, the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs said Madrid called for de-escalation, moderation, and respect for international law in Venezuela. Several countries in the Middle East and Asia have called on Israel to allow immediate, full, and unhindered deliveries of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip as winter storms lash the bombarded Palestinian enclave. In a statement, the foreign ministers of Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, Pakistan, and Indonesia warned that deteriorating conditions in Gaza had left nearly 1.9 million displaced, Palestinians particularly vulnerable. The statement said flooded camps, damaged tents, the collapse of damaged buildings, and exposure to cold temperatures, coupled with malnutrition, have significantly heightened risk to civilian lives. They called on the international community to pressure Israel as the occupying power to immediately lift constraints on the entry and distribution of essential supplies, including tents, shelter materials, medical assistance, clean water, fuel, and sanitation support. Israel has maintained stringent restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza, despite its obligations under international law to ensure that the basic needs of Palestinians in the enclave are met. At least 2 people have died after a powerful earthquake hit southern and central Mexico, with the epicenter of the 6.5 magnitude earthquake near the popular tourist town of Acapulco, near San Marcos in the southwestern state of Guerrero, which suffered moderate damage. A 50-year-old woman died in Guerrero, the state's governor Evelyn Salgado said, while Clara Brugada, Mexico City's mayor, confirmed the death of a 60-year-old man and said 12 others had been injured in the capital. Mexico is situated in one of the world's most seismically active areas, sitting at the meeting point of 4 tectonic plates. Brugada said power has been restored to 98% of the failures reported in Mexico City. Structures were being evaluated for risk of collapse, she said, while 34 buildings and 5 homes were being inspected as a preventative measure. Damage assessments are underway in Mexico City after roads and hospitals were impacted. Iran's United Nations ambassador Amir Saeed Eravani has written to the UN Secretary General and the President of the UN Security Council, urging them to condemn unlawful threats towards Tehran from United States President Donald Trump amid ongoing protests in the country. The letter came hours after Trump said the US was locked and loaded and ready to go if any more protesters were killed in the ongoing demonstrations in Iran over the cost of living. Iravani called on UN Chief Antonio Guterres and members of the UN to unequivocally and firmly condemn Trump's reckless and provocative statements, describing them as a serious violation of the UN Charter and international law. Iravani said any attempt to incite, encourage, or legitimize internal unrest as a pretext for external pressure or military intervention was a gross violation of the sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The letter added that Iran's government reiterates its inherent right to defend its sovereignty and that it will exercise its rights in a decisive and proportionate manner. We'll take another break to bring you sport news. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Pape Gueye scored a brace as title favourites Senegal came back from a goal down to beat Sudan 3-1 at Ibn Battuta Stadium in Tangier and booked their place in the CAF 2025 Africa Cup of Nations quarter-finals. Sudan's hopes of an unlikely victory were boosted when Amir Abdallah's stunning strike gave them an early lead, but Gueye scored twice ahead of half-time before Ibrahim Mbaye secured the win in the 77th minute. Abdallah opened the scoring after just 6 minutes, curling the ball from the edge of the box and into the top left corner as Senegal were caught cold in the early stages that grand-started the Tanga. However, they began to find their rhythm and they carried the momentum to secure victory. Aston Villa beat struggling Nottingham Forest 3-1 at their home fortress on Saturday to ease the pain of their midweek mauling by Arsenal, leapfrogging Manchester City into second place in the Premier League. Villa started brightly on a bitingly cold day in Birmingham and were denied an early opener when Victor saved a Oli Watkins shot from point-blank range with his legs. Watkins' strike on the cusp of half-time gave Villa a deserved lead, and John McGinn grabbed a second early in the second period. Morgan Gibbs-White pulled a goal back for the visitors, but McGinn took advantage of a brain freeze by Forest goalkeeper John Victor to restore Villa's two-goal lead. Madison Keys said Saturday that she was trying to embrace the extra pressure that comes with starting the year's first Grand Slam as defending champion. The American pulled off a shock in the Australian Open final last year when she beat top seed Aryna Sabalenka in a 3-set classic to win her maiden major title aged 29. The world number 7 said that while she felt the weight of expectation heading into her title defense in Melbourne this month, she is determined to enjoy it. Meanwhile, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka said on Saturday she isn't out for revenge after losing her Australian Open crown in a shock loss to American Madison Keys last year. Sabalenka went into the final at Melbourne Park aiming to become the first woman since Martina Hingis to win 3 consecutive Australian Opens, but she was undone by Keys, who won her maiden slam in an inspired performance on Rod Laver Arena. The Belarusian said there was no difference coming to Australia as the champion or as the runner-up. And Luka Doncic scored 34 points, with half coming from the free throw line, and LeBron James added 31 as the Los Angeles Lakers rallied to defeat the short-handed Memphis Grizzlies 128 to 121, opening a 2-game series between the teams. Doncic finished with 8 assists and 6 rebounds, while James recorded 9 rebounds and 6 assists. The two stars took control in the fourth quarter, fueling a decisive 12-2 run that put the game out of reach. During the stretch, Doncic scored 4 points and assisted on 2 3-pointers before James capped the run with a basket. Memphis was without 6 players, including Zach Edey, but still had balanced scoring with 6 players reaching double figures. And that's it on the MITV Primetime News. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year once again, and good night.